Today, we're going to do a topic that has woven through my life in several different ways, in several different concepts. And the concept that's in here, I would say to kind of ignore. The government's totally wacky right now anyway, so just presume that whatever they're doing is going to be wacky. Okay, so let's not even think of the government. But that's what this poem's next called. It's called Government Salt. But what's happened is something I want to share with you, which I'm doing with my doctor right now. And that's that he takes my blood pressure. But when he takes my blood pressure, he takes it with me laying down. Then I have to wait 5 minutes and sit up and wait a couple minutes. And he does it again. And then he has me stand up, and he does it again after a pause and everything. So in other words, I stabilize in each of those three levels. Now, here's the deal. It should, obviously there should not be a big change from when you're laying down to when you're standing up. That's the goal, is to have as small a change in your blood pressure. In other words, how hard does your heart have to work to maintain your blood pressure? So when you're laying down and your blood's even, it's kind of easy to keep the pressure to a certain level. We'll say 30 PSI. It's kind of like a car tire. But anyway, you got your 30 PSI. Okay, then part of you sits up and it's like, oh, we got to pump it up there. It's like way up the tree. You got to pump it up there. So you got to work a little harder to pump that up there. And then when you stand all the way up, it's like, wow, we got to go all the way down there, and then we got to pump it all the way up, So anyway, the heart has to work hardest when you're standing up. Okay? So you want to find out what the variation is on that. And the least variation means, obviously, the best performance overall. Now, what does that really mean? Okay? Now, let me see if I can get we're almost to the punchline here, which is that blood pressure and air pressure in a tire, same thing. How much air is in the tire? That's what your pressure is. How much blood or fluid is in your body? That's what your blood pressure is. Okay? So then if you need to change that, now your heart has something to do with that. If your heart beats harder, that increases the pressure. Okay? So let's say you don't have much fluid. Okay, so in that case, when you stand up, you have to use even more pressure to get enough stuff up there, and get it, because there's less fluid to get up there. So you got to work harder to get more fluid up there. So you actually work harder to have your blood pressure goes up when you are low on fluid. That's the whole point of this thing. I can tell you a lot more, but let me get to the meat of the matter here. And the meat is that if you have more fluid, you have higher blood pressure. Now, your water is always going out, and that's normal, which means that you should drink more water, okay, like they say. So that's number one in having, controlling your blood pressure is drinking lots of water. Okay, but the second problem is that the water's gone, and then your blood pressure's, crappy because your heart's got to work harder to maintain the pressure because the water's all gone. So what you do is you eat salt. Now, salt, as they've said, increases your blood pressure. Well, it actually doesn't. It's almost the opposite because it makes it so your heart does not have to increase your blood pressure. Because if there's more water there, then the heart doesn't have to work as hard. So the pressure is easier. So you actually have lower blood. The pressure may be higher, but the part you're working to make it that way is lower. So, in other words, to control your blood pressure, low blood pressure, high blood pressure, those terms may be misused, and I may be misusing them. So let's just take them out of the equation now. The proper pressure to have, so your body's always at near its normal and with least variation, is when you have the most fluid in your body, and you have the most fluid in your body when you have salt in your body, because salt helps you retain it longer. Simple as that. And the salt will be gone. It comes out eventually. It's water soluble. Doesn't get absorbed by the organs or anything like that. It just comes out. And so it's totally safe and works. And you find that harmony. And he's saying, when you go get a drink of water, then get a little sprinkle of salt on your tongue. And so you can retain that water a little longer. Just salt all the time. It's like the opposite of what they've been saying, It's like the difference between butter and margarine. It's like, oops, we were wrong. Butter's better. Well, it turns out salt's better, too, than not having salt. Okay, so anyway, here we are. We're on a poem called Government Salt, in which I'm looking at the salt issue from another perspective, which I'd be willing to talk to you about, but I think the one I shared with you is more significant than my other one, and it kind of covers it a little bit. All right, here we go. And I think it's kind of a long one. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, what the heck? 8 pages. All right, buckle up, dudes. evidently felt compelled to explain this to you. You heard me just explain it in, 5 minutes now? Well, it's going to be a 4-minute poem, so it might take you... Okay, so it took me 4 minutes to explain it before my other way. Let's see how I do it with the poem now. I just killed a cold, shot it dead. It grew up and died inside my nostril head. It took root in my nose, obvious by the wind that blows out my nostril without my control, powered by sneezes and coughs from every upper hole. Don't get cute. That does include my ears. A slight nightly pain stirred my collared fears, because like Navy SEALs, in darkness illness steals, seeking that vulnerable spot in your mucous membrane where the SEALs set up HQ right next to your brain. Quite an invasion going on here, isn't it? They'll secure a position quickly before the conquest know they're sickly. Then they'll move the HQ higher, up the sinuses to evade your eviction desire. You can't even crack down with Border Patrol, armed with vitamin C to reclaim nostril territory control. So the boogers just start flowing. Deceptive people say, my allergies are showing, as they choose to sneeze inside a theater to share their allergy and its creator. What is this tide of wet, ugly, sticky goo that flows to your upper lip to announce the flu? Is there nothing else that we can do besides being an alien incubator tool? As I gestate after germinate, the organisms that will hibernate, breeding like pilgrims who cross the seas, polluting my streams, veins, and arteries. But I've gone to war. I've got a weapon in store. Me, yes, me, yeah, really, me. Ever since that Teamster job in 1973. I was working with a federal agent. He gave me the runaround about his forced retirement. Perhaps I could take a clue from his confiscated gifts. Perhaps he was an Edward Snowden before whistleblowers were allowed to exist. Oh, I forgot. Whistleblowers are still hated by the government and considered illegal. And people still can't see that we're in a dictatorship. All right, here we go. This rejected graduate of American espionage shared with me the secrets that government helps big business dodge. As it turns out, the flu is big business. To kill such an enterprise, you'd have to be a communist. The bald eagle leadership has a wing that is sensitive to what Vicks VapoRub is saying. If the government solves our sickly ills, jobs will die, as good health kills. They keep lots of people employed, pumping out those booger beater pills, which is why the FBI and CIA, perhaps Homeland Security too, want us to keep things as they are, even if it protects the flu. The Surgeon General knows eventually everyone's flu will go away. Or if the elderly die off, less Social Security to pay. But most people live, so that's how things will stay. Note, I will now provide a spoiler alert. Here's the end of the story. Normally, I win the germ battle quicker. But for 2 weeks, I didn't get sicker. I cornered the invasion in my upper nose and won the battle by controlling where it goes. The Navy SEALs, the germs, will land airborne, launched from faces fraught with lorn, loudly launching with coughs and gags. We underestimate the reach of those Germanic Navy flags. ramming those flagpoles into our moist skin. They hunker down. It's a viral invasion. They ram more flags into your oozing flesh, that soft, moist hair bristle mesh designed to filter out some dust, but incapable of thwarting the viral lust. I think I'm doing a really good job. Forget the government salt title. This is a fun story. Okay, well, actually, it totally relates. Here we go. But I like to, I'm kind of setting this up. I think it's because I've watched so many cartoons, you know. Okay. Got the guy from Mars down here conquering our nostril. Here we go. After the initial epidermal land grab, more territory they will inject, penetrate, and stab in. Now you notice a slight itch in your nose. In only 3 hours, a sneeze, another sneeze. How strange, you think? As suddenly your nostril overflows. Here's what I reveal. Here's what my 50 years ago mentor did steal. Salt. Sodium chloride. Salt is what our government will continue to hide to protect the billion-dollar industry of influenza misery. Because all that Cold War money made goes to the chemical manufacturers of those poisons you so gladly paid. Hold it. People prefer poison to prevention? Gargling with salt water, the government will no longer mention. Nope, they buried the salty truth under fear. Americans think salt will make a heart attack appear. Of course, neither I or any single person that I know have ever seen a dead man and said, "It was salt that made him go." Yeah, that would be it. No, we continue. Okay. I thought that right there kind of told the story, but we are continuing. I must have been in a dramatic mood, sitting in the cab of my Tacoma car, and and my cat next to me. Sometimes it was raining and, rain on the roof. Here we go. No healthy persons ever got ill from salt. Among the thousands of humans that I've known, how salt terminates, prevents, or cures a cold, many, many times I've proven and shown. In freedom's pride, we live within a land where people are daily paid to stand and live out their entire life, standing all day for their children, standing all day for their complaining wife. I think that I'm thinking about when I was a carpenter. You're never allowed to sit down. You, as a carpenter, once you start your job, if you're sitting down, you'll be fired. You're not allowed to sit down. So I think that was a personal thing. But here we go. For somewhere around 40 hours a week, we allow someone to determine when we are allowed to speak. People are trained to be comfortably detained. Satisfaction is someone heard you when you complained. But if you'd like to live a little longer, if you'd like to be a little stronger, I recommend more salt. This advice you won't hear from your friends. Dosage is important, so success depends on living a healthy life. You can survive as a fool. I also recommend you choose your daily strife to be more than a gagged, standing security tool. Oh, there's another job you're not allowed to sit down on. For now, understand your disease contraction. Increase your salt intake. Verify your disease counter-reaction. At least every hour, fight with salted steak. That virus doesn't sleep. Your enemy is in constant action. So give that slimy viral snail a dose for bubbly mucus saline reaction. Oh, that's ugly. I actually have seen that as a kid. Yeah, I wouldn't have generated that memory if I hadn't been inspired. Like I said, that's a nice thing about poems. They inspire memories, but that's a memory I didn't need. Okay, here we go. I think it's our last paragraph. No! And then another page. Here we go. Let's run down that salty trail. Oh, okay. So in terms of using salt, let me just continue here. Actually, just some salty chips could sanitize your throat and lips, reducing their oral infiltration by air of those Navy SEALs in your sinus, flying painful red flags stuck in your tongue, converting your breath into spores. This is gross. I'm sorry. I'm thinking of that Alien movie. All right, let me just read it without my mental images. Were just like, I was falling down a hole reading that. Okay. Actually, just some salty chips could sanitize your throat and lips, reducing their oral infiltration by air of those Navy SEALs in your sinus, flying painful red flags stuck in your tongue, converting your breath into spores exhaled to share. Oh, I rang with air in there. Once again, like I said, when I was performing my poetry, I'd kind of memorize, and I would even underline and circle words I want to emphasize, and I could create the flow and the hooks, and it was fun. It's nice to do things too. Anyway, I could go on. Let's cut to the chase. I snort extra salt until the invaders are gone. Someday I will decide and declare that salty dose. I add a quarter teaspoon to my nasal spray, then reclose. My friend had the same cold. He took days off work with a sore throat. With his heart condition, his doctor cautioned, with salt, beware of the government beware as the government foretold. I got over it quicker. He got much sicker. So once again, I've proven that with additional salt, I'm healthier. And without buying cough medicine like he did, I'm a little wealthier. I just got an update again of who's winning and losing. Sheesh, my sickly friend just canceled. He says he got better but stopped snorting salt too soon. The viral retreat's been reversed and rechanneled back to a painful sore throat and becoming an American booger balloon. Too bad my friend's doctor and heart called a halt to my friend being cured by government salt. So anyway, point is, I actually had a friend the one friend I did have who had a heart condition and was always told that he shouldn't have salt. And I had a lot of trouble with him, though, because he had so many complications and side effects. I helped him for a while, but then once it got worse, I couldn't really help him much. But I did actually reverse his condition quite a bit. We can talk about that another time. Almost sounds magical what I did do to help him. I probably elongated his life to some extent, but then he got COVID. So I don't know how long he would have still lived without COVID. He was actually improving, and his heart was getting stronger. He was rebuilding his heart with Tai Chi. So, but anyway. All right. Buddha Z saying, oh yeah, what did I do? Oh, I taught you about salt. I taught you that you should reconsider salt and look at it from different perspectives. I think it's good for fighting illness, increase the content that's in your mouth area when you're starting to get a cold, and snort some to kill the viruses and your germs. And I talked about salt in terms of controlling your weight. All right, so if you can master, you want to master life, you want to master your body, you want to master being alive, well, salt is an important part of that. So good luck, establish that healthy harmony. All right, Buddha Z saying, I definitely explained something today.
Something to make life better, not worse. It's the basics of Buddhism. Buddha's first trick. It's the Four Noble Truths to make enlightenment quick. He figured out, sitting under a tree, that life will never be perfect. It includes some pain and misery. But that's alright, he said. Most of this pain is in your head. Don't give up if you're not dead. What you gotta do is understand that things don't always go as you plan. Toss them out. If they don't make you feel good, those expectations should be understood. Don't just put a bandage on your brain. Figure out the source of the pain. Seek the truth about you and your world. Decide how you fit. Seek that truthful pearl that brings lights to your eyes. Moves the clouds from your skies. Which brings us to truth number 2. Now that pain and suffering has become understood, you realize that everything must end. All suffering is temporary. You either die, if it gets worse, or you improve and survive. So you're understood your suffering. You see the end to your pain. Ignorance will lead you astray, but what you've learned and what you know can visualize the end. So noble truth number 1 is accepting that life includes some pain. Noble truth 2 says it won't always rain. And noble truth number 3, we lead you to the cure. If it can stop the pain be dropped, you know this for sure. So now you seek the first cure, the quickest or the best. Instead of just complaining, you are on a quest. Answers that you seek may lead to other knowledge. Seeking the truth in life is our greatest college. Learn from interaction, success, and mistakes. Number 1, you accept the truth. Life can be bad. Number 2, you see that what's bad has an end. Number 3, you decide how this end can be had. So number 4 is the truth of success and prevention. Live a life that's good. Be as smart as you can. Be a good person, a good wife, a good man. The life you lead is the path you walk and how you talk. Choices are the crossroads of the path around the rock. There's going to be boulders, obstacles in your way. Choose the 4 noble truths to brighten your day.